There we
Dude, that
go.
recording in progress always makes me nervous.
It scares me. They're
I don't know
watching
why. I
us.
hate it. But um
No, but dude, to answer, so to
yeah,
talk about kind of what you
yeah,
said there, like
please.
this is another differentiator. Like, I get what you're saying about. I'm not familiar with, I think, the verse that you're referencing where he's like, "Why am I sacrificing?" But again, like Adam didn't necessarily have like the gift of prophecy. Like he did not prophesy with his lips, like, of this one that is returning. So that's kind of where we differentiate is
Oh,
we don't see
I see
Adam
what
as,
you're saying.
yeah,
He
we don't
wasn't
see
like
him as a,
prophesying the future.
yeah, like he wasn't a prophet. Like he didn't prophesy of Christ's return. So that's kind of where we say this is what a prophet is. And
Gotcha.
this is ipso facto why we believe like there are no
Yeah.
prophets after, Jesus. He was the whole reason we prophesy.
Yeah. Um, and there's gonna be I'm gonna address it. It's not necessarily coming from me, but I know a lot of LDS people watching this are going to be like wanting me to jump in here and say, so if there's no prophets after Jesus Christ, then why did Jesus Christ teach us how to recognize a good prophet from a false prophet, right? Why didn't Jesus
Hmm.
Christ just say, there are no prophets after me?
Hmm.
That isn't what he said. I don't care to address that because I feel like there's other things to address that are more important in 20 minutes. Um,
Yeah.
but um, I'm not intentionally or I'm not unintentionally skipping over that. I do feel like Jesus Christ did teach us how to recognize true prophets from false prophets
Hmm.
for a reason, and it wasn't just spewing information that we don't need to know, right? Everything that he taught was is worth knowing still. So anyway,
Yeah.
um,
No, that's a good point. And it definitely, like, I know that verse, I believe it's Matthew 7:15, like where Jesus says, like, beware of false prophets who come in sheep's clothing. But I think I would be curious to see what like the Greek verbiage is actually there. Like, I would be highly doubtful of him actually referencing, like, hey, there are future prophets coming who will prophesy. Because again, it comes back to, like, what are they prophesying over?
yeah.
Now you could say also false prophets there too, like he's referencing people who just come in general and say, "Hey, I'm a prophet." Beware of false prophets. That doesn't mean that there will be, a bunch of true
I mean,
prophets
but if
running
that
around.
was the case, he could have just said, "Hey, everyone that comes to you and says that they're a prophet is a false prophet, because after me there are no true prophets."
He could have,
Um,
but he didn't.
right,
So this is
right,
where we differentiate.
yeah. And I do think it's important to point out that you're saying like I would love to go back and look at the Greek or the Hebrew or whatever the original language was that the Bible was written in, right? Um, do you speak any other languages, Josh?
No, not even remotely. I'm
Okay.
stupid.
You're
I'm
not
not
stupid.
educated.
Uh, dude, that's two of us, but I do speak Spanish, but I'm still stupid, right? But um, there are phrases in Spanish that just can't translate well
Hmm.
to English. And there are plenty of English phrases. Actually, there are way more English phrases that translate like they have to be translated very simply into Spanish. Like there's not a word for word translation from one language to the other. Um, and when people say like, "Well, you guys believe the Bible," or when Mormons say we believe in the Bible, and then
Hmm.
Christians a lot of times will say like, "No, you don't believe in the Bible. You just pick and choose things in the Bible, right?" But the bottom line that Latter-day Saints believe is that we believe in the Bible as long as it is translated correctly.
Hmm.
You believe that too. Whether you think you do or not, you believe that the Bible is true as long as it's understood correctly. Um, when we read the Bible, we're not just reading word for word and understanding it perfectly. We're reading the words on the page, and then our mind has to like dissect what it's saying to us, and then we have to come up with that meaning. If we come up with separate meanings, there's a disconnect there, and we have to figure out like what is the actual truth. And
Hmm.
that's what we're saying as Mormons or as Latter-day Saints is with any scripture, like including the Book of Mormon, including any scripture, we believe that it's true as long as it's translated and understood correctly.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, this is an interesting kind of point, and I think Matthew 7:15 is a good highlighter of this. Another one is the verse, and I forget the verse, but it's where I believe Mormons get the practice of baptism for the dead, right? So Matthew 7:15, for example, let me read it. It says, "Beware of false prophets; they come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves." Now, even historically Christianity reading that, that's kind of it is what it says, right? Like, hey, beware of false prophets or people who will prophesy false things. And then we see the LDS Church kind of reading into that, reading meaning into that and saying, oh, well, this must mean that they're true prophets too. Not necessarily. The other verse that I'm referencing is like the baptisms for the dead verse, and I want to say it's
yeah.
Paul who's literally like making fun of a church for continuing the practice. Like, why are we still doing this if like you're saved by Christ? And so Christians historically have read that and been like, yeah, like that was an occult practice, baptisms for the dead. And then this was a debate I had with Brother Miller. Like Mormons come in and kind of read into that and say like, oh, well, he's not technically chastising the practice. Like he's not technically saying it's bad. And so that's kind of, I think, an interesting, to your points, maybe it's just the lens that's, you read it through, but it's very interesting watching like historically Christianity with all of our dogma, like read scripture and we come to these conclusions that are like tested over, centuries and centuries. And then, the LDS church just has a completely different kind of spin on things or kind of an interpretation of like, yeah, well, technically this isn't mentioned or things like that. So it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say that you guys like read things into scripture, but also at times it feels like, yeah, like where did you get that? Like
Yeah.
how did you arrive at that conclusion?
Yeah. And that brings up a good point in the sense that I think we're both arguing the same thing here. Like, we just want to read the truth, right? And we want to come to
Hmm.
know what the truth is. And I should have addressed this from the start as like, what is the truth? And I kind of sense that you're saying that the Council of Nicaea, right, has had lots of discussions. They know the scriptures better than anybody, and they've decided on like what is the truth and what should you believe. But I want to take it like a step further and let's just define like what is truth. And
Okay.
to you, what is truth?
Wow, that's such a heavy question. What
Yeah,
is
sorry.
truth? What
It's a,
is,
and I will say, not a lot of people think about that question of what
yeah,
is truth. So I think this is a good opportunity.
man. I mean, I don't know if I could, how do you define truth? I mean, I feel as though truth is, this is going to sound stupid, at its core, what is true? Uh, how do we achieve what is true? Things are tested. For example, like truth in maybe mathematics or science is something that starts with question, is this true? And then you test it and you test it and you test it. And, eventually the conclusion comes back so many times that you say, yes, this is the truth. So maybe that's a process of arriving to the truth, but what is the truth? I mean, it's what is true? Uh, man, that's such a good question.
I'll
Like
throw
I
out a
can't give you,
definition and
yeah, give me a definition
you
here.
tell me if we agree on it or not. But I would say truth is an idea or a thought, or it's just when something is aligned with reality.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty solid start if
And
it's
it's
not completely
I
fair.
this is not a trap that I'm trying to set or anything. This is just like we have to agree on some basic things.
Yeah.
And I would say truth is when something is aligned with reality.
Hmm.
Reality over everything. And so when we're seeking truth, we're trying to find the reality of X or of, any
Sure.
topic, right? Um, and I will say that's like the whole point of debating and having these discussions, at least for me,
Yeah, you're searching
um,
for the truth,
is
for
to
sure.
find the truth. I would much rather believe in a hard truth than I would in a comfortable lie.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people like um my kids are going to watch this someday, and so I don't want to throw out like some examples that I don't want them to believe in. But like the tooth fairy, um, I would much rather just know that the tooth fairy doesn't exist than go
Hmm.
the rest of my life wanting to believe in the tooth fairy, so I do, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about God. And Mormonism, Latter-day Saints, Christianity, all the religions in general, I would much rather know the truth than just believe in something because I want to believe in it.
Yeah.
Um, and with debating, I feel like that is one of the main purposes of debating that is lost on so many debaters these days is that they're debating to defend what they believe rather than search for the truth, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, why? Like, why defend what you believe if it's wrong? And I feel that way about Mormonism as well. Like, why
Yeah.
would I defend Mormonism if it's wrong? I would much rather just figure out what the truth is and go from there.
So Kyle,
Um,
why do you believe that the LDS church is the true church? Like what
yeah.
is your story the same as the majority who I read the Book of Mormon and I felt the burning in my stomach and I knew it was true? Like why do you believe that that's the
Yeah.
truth?
It goes a lot deeper than that. I will say that was part of it, like a starting point. Everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I do feel like there's opposites in all things. So you might read the Book of Mormon, might feel that it's true, but you are never going to prove that the church is true.
Hmm.
Just like you could never prove that Christianity, like of a solid, like without a shadow of a doubt truth, that is the true church. You just can't
Hmm.
do it, right? Um, so for me, it's just a matter of building logically on bases. The Bible teaches us like line upon line, precept upon precept. Um, I don't feel like knowledge is necessary for salvation, right? We don't
Hmm.
we don't
I agree.
have to know all these things to be saved, but the more knowledge we get, the closer we can come to God and develop our relationship with Christ and God, and the better our life will be.
Hmm.
So I in that sense, I do feel like knowledge is necessary. And I wish that people of all religions, including mine, there are plenty of people that don't question what they believe or why they believe it. They're just believing it because their parents believed it, right? Or
Hmm.
that's what they were brought up believing. And I really wish more people would just look inward and be like, actually, why do I believe that?
Hmm.
um, and start to question their beliefs. The more I've questioned it, the more I've kind of solidified my belief in Mormonism.
Yeah. And
Obviously,
you said something interesting there, like you can't prove definitively without a doubt, any belief system. And that's why, these debates are so, sometimes interesting. But I feel like the opposite is true as well, in that you can disprove things. Um, like Kyle,
yeah,
if someone was able to
yeah,
disprove, the story of Mormonism, would that lead you to be like, okay, it's not true? Like if you saw, like, yeah, the evidence is just clear cut, can't do it.
yeah,
Okay, interesting.
yeah. Um, that hasn't happened yet. And I've dug into quite a bit. I love that. And this is what's so exhausting about social media is that people will listen to these debates or they'll bring up a topic and be like, well, what about the CES letter, right?
Hmm.
Or what about XYZ? And it's like, dude, I have dug into that. Or people will bring up a hard concept like, what about blacks in the priesthood? Or what about Joseph Smith and polygamy? Or what about, there's so many hard topics, right?
Hmm.
You don't think that I would have questioned that from the very start and rather just quit my religion instead of being made fun of my entire life for being LDS, which is
Hmm.
much harder than if I would have just been like, yeah, that's a really hard topic. I don't want to believe that and
Yeah.
just left it, right? Um, so yes, I have addressed those topics for the CES letter in particular. Dude, that was one of the longest, most dreary sections of studying doctrine of my entire life. It wasn't fun. It felt like homework. But I did go through it and break down every point that was brought up in that letter.
Hmm.
Um, I don't address every point in that letter in debates because it takes forever. They're very nuanced and it's worth figuring out for yourself. So if you're a Latter-day Saint or even a non-Latter-day Saint, I'm not saying avoid it. Go ahead, read it, read whatever anti-Mormon stuff you want to read, but also be willing to question what you believe just as you are willing to question your your actual beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Question
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, Kyle, got like 4 minutes left
Yep.
here.
Yeah, I see
So
that. Um,
closing remarks, if there's anything that you want to, or any
yeah.
other questions.
I just want to end with well, let's sum it up. So, we talked about are Mormons Christian? I think it really just comes down to your definition of Christianity. And if your definition of Christianity excludes Mormons, we are A-OK with that. Our definition just means that you follow Jesus Christ, regardless of your knowledge of him or your knowledge of the Trinity or whatever. If you are trying to learn who Jesus Christ was and follow his example, you're a Christian. Um,
Hmm.
but we're okay with differentiating in that. Are Mormons a cult? Again, that just depends on your definition. I
Yeah.
think we're fine with being defined as a cult. I personally don't think a cult would send you out to different cultures to learn about different cultures and tell you to be an active member of your community, avoid addictive substances, that kind of thing. But if you want to define cult in whatever way you want and say that we are a cult, then that's fine with us. We're not going to debate that or we don't have a problem with that. Um, we're always open to discuss more things, but I hope we can keep doing this. I love having
Yeah.
these chats
I was about to
and
say, dude, we
thoughts.
can keep doing this for sure. I'm sorry that I had such a quick cutoff with with a meeting this morning, but
Yeah, no, it's all
like
good.
I definitely don't want you to get up this early every day either. Or I guess you do because you're pouring concrete.
No
But no,
way.
dude, definitely happy to continue to do this because it's I mean at the end of the day, it's kind of like we see the debates online, and you're exactly right. The art form of pursuing truth seems to be have lost a little bit. So it's always good to kind of like redefine the truths or redefine things. And like even like you and I, we probably didn't agree on a ton today. But if nothing else, it's still kind of redefining that truth of like this is what we believe to be true, and
Yeah.
just continue to have that dialogue.
And at the end of the day, we are just trying to find truth. So I'm not going to take up any more time. Do you want to share a favorite scripture just to
Oh
end?
yeah, dude, yeah. So favorite
Perfect.
Bible verse in
Cool.
the New Testament, John 24. Okay. Now, people are gonna find this silly. It's literally the verse where like John just says like the faster disciple outran Peter and got to the tomb first. And I'm even paraphrasing horribly at that. Here, let me find it. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. This John 24. Sounds like a silly verse. Uh, but that verse is ironically one of my favorite verses because when I read it for the first time and wasn't on autopilot, I actually understood what John was saying. I realized he was just bragging about being faster than Peter. And it kind of in that moment made scripture like real for me. These aren't a bunch of like genius minds that have just been anointed, or maybe they were anointed, but genius minds that, the Lord, it's just like regular guys, that's were lucky enough to be called by Christ to be a disciple. And so it really like opened scripture up to me of like, wow, these are just regular people. And
I love
thank goodness
that.
because I'm a regular guy too. So it
Yeah.
it helped me
If
kind of
Jesus could do
see
all
God up in
those
that.
miracles with those regular guys, imagine what he could do with us, right?
Yeah,
I
for
love it.
sure. For sure, man. What's your favorite verse, Kyle?
I love the book of Hebrews, like the whole book of Hebrews. I love it. Chapters 11 and 12 are my favorite. Um, I want to share if you're good with it, I want to share a verse from the Book of Mormon just because I
Sure,
love
go
the Book of
ahead.
Mormon. And if you need to go, feel free to click out. But it's really short. Um, this is when Jesus Christ came to the Americas and he's now showing himself to the people here. He says, "Arise and come forth unto me that ye may thrust your hands into my side, and also that ye may feel the prints of the nails in my hands and in my feet, that ye may know that I am the God of Israel and the God of the whole earth, and have been slain for the sins of the world." And it came to pass that the multitude went forth and thrust their hands into his side, and did feel the prints of the nails in his hands and in his feet. And this they did do, going forth one by one, until they had all gone forth, and did see with their eyes, and did feel with their hands, and did know of a surety, and did bear record that it was he of whom it was written by the prophets that should come. Um, I love that just because it's a fulfillment of prophecy that Jesus Christ would come to earth. He did die for us. They could feel, even though they didn't get to witness the crucifixion of Christ, he showed them the prints in his hands and he let them feel for themselves that he was sacrificed for them. So anyway, I know you need to get running, but thank you for the time that
Yeah,
we had
you're
to
good.
chat, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. If I need to be the Christian correspondent or if there's ever a topic you want to talk about, just hit me in the DMs, all right?
Love it.
All right.
Awesome.
See you,
Thanks a
man.
lot.
Thanks, Kyle.
We'll see you. Bye.